Hi, and welcome to the weekly astrology predictions for the week of May 31st, 2021. In terms of the stock market directions, I think the week overall we'll see up moves at the beginning of the week. Monday, of course, was a Memorial Day in the US, so US markets were closed, but then Tuesday and Wednesday look like fairly positive days to me. And on Thursday and Friday, I think there may be a large drop in the stock market. However, the down momentum looks stronger for me. To me, for global markets and for the US, there are some positive transits actually for Thursday and Friday. So I think either US markets will not drop as much, or they may even slightly go up. Either way, I think Thursday and Friday of this week will be more significant in terms of various events, and some of them may be tense. Potentially, we may hear about some either attacks, violent protests, and things of that nature, and or there may be increased volatility in the stock market Thursday and Friday. So then to go through specific days of the week, for Tuesday, I think there may be, in addition to market going up, I think there is increased probability of some important news about either a prominent person or politician, where what might be featured is what they said, or perhaps how they communicated something. It may be discussed, some criticism about that, or perhaps where they traveled to, or how they got there, something about their travel plans or travel the trip, and or the actual prominent person in the news might be somebody who is not related, but rather is maybe like a corporate officer at a communication transportation company. And again, they make some announcements perhaps about a new project, like a new car or a new, communication device or a new app. And again, those would be perhaps more prominently featured in the news on Tuesday. And if indeed there's such an announcement made, like about the new communication or transportation project, long term, there might be good public support for that, although initially there may be some confusion about that announcement. Generally speaking, this entire week, and as I mentioned, especially the 4th and 5th of June, are somewhat tense, where there might be increased probability of either a major accident, earthquake, problems with places that somehow involve underground storage or like mines, things that are hidden. It could be something literally, there is an underground storage and roof collapses there, or it could be a situation that is, involves some secretive activities, something that's, underground, quote unquote, and that comes out again through a series of some unpleasant, eruptions, meaning, maybe some whistleblower comes forward or something of that nature. Other potential kind of manifestation of these difficult transits that we will experience at the end of this week, especially, will be concerns about and disagreements about oil prices, problems with transportation of oil, gas, chemicals, beverages, pharmaceuticals. So problems with getting them, to the right location, problems with not problems, but concerns about the prices being either too low or too high, maybe windy weather, some clashes, disagreements over things, anti-governmental protests, anti-police brutality protests, as well as increased probability of situations that involve some lies, deception, spying, hacking. And those kind of activities may already have become kind of not knowledgeable, but known to public at the end of May. And now perhaps things may escalate further. So anything that was a concern at the end of May now becomes more of a point of contention. And like I said, things may escalate to the point of violent protests, disagreements, and sort of even threats, especially at the June 4th and 5th, and I'd say after the 6th things should calm down. Let's see, so Wednesday, market up, then Thursday, like I said, the influence on Thursday, Friday is somewhat mixed. Things look kind of worse globally in terms of the stock market direction, slightly better for the US. In the US, there might be actually positive news about either earnings or workforce, or some programs that are aimed at like social help for people who are perhaps need them more. There may be some either increased funding in those areas, or again, some positive news about the workforce. So for the US, things don't look quite as stressful. That said, again, Thursday, Friday may see increased market volatility regardless of the direction. And the type of news that may be prominent in those days would be retail sales, transportation, communication, but also oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, drugs, movies, beverages, all of those Neptunian subjects as well. And for those related products or commodities, their price may go down or their sales may go down. And as I said before, increased probability of like some important news about like secrets coming out, or hacking, spying, or some misleading communication, or just confusion. Maybe, like I said, there's increased probability of an accident. So it could be due to somebody misreading information provided by some device, and or foggy weather, or just things not being clear, communication being unclear. Let's see. On June 3rd and 4th, additionally, there may be increased news about topics related to real estate, banks' assets, farmlands, like the value of farmland, farming and groceries, food industry, so it could be restaurants, grocery store chains, etc. So either the profits from those areas may increase, so maybe real estate, profits on real estate may go up, value of real estate goes up, and banks' assets go up. And at the same time, there may be increased on food prices, or profits by like restaurants and grocery stores may increase. For the US, the period of June 3rd through about July 10th, and then also early January of next year, particularly January 5th through the 18th of 2022, may see some increased and positive news about earnings, like profits may increase, healthcare, there may be increased funding for those areas, or profits for healthcare, related industry, and workforce. So maybe some increased profits, improved conditions, great opportunities, or some optimistic, positive outlook in those areas. And there may also be increased at the same times, increased news in the US about international negotiations and contracts. And those contracts may have to do with either communication and or transportation industries, and those will likely be beneficial long term for the US. These discussions may initially begin right about June, July of this year, and the final agreements or completion of the project may be in January of 2022. Let's see, and so I think the next Monday, June 7th, is going to see a reversal in the direction for the stock market compared to Friday. So I do expect overall globally for market to be down on Friday. So then therefore on next Monday, things would reverse to up. Now for the sort of glance ahead section. So this is a preview for the next few weeks to a few years, just to give you an overview. The next kind of a important time period that's coming up will be end of June. So from about June 29th through July 9th, and especially July 1st through the 6th will be, I would say, the more difficult time of this year. In fact, maybe one of the more difficult periods where things that might occur at that time could be, again, major accidents, earthquakes, escalation of military tensions, variety of protests, fires, explosions, lightning strikes, or just a variety of dangerous and tense events, and those things may occur suddenly without warning, like I said, like a lightning strike, maybe like a tornado or something like that. And it could involve, again, just fires. Obviously it's summertime, but it could be also some sort of a chemical left unattended, especially something that's used in construction or farming, and it may ignite because, again, things were stored improperly, or there will be a sudden onset of turbulent weather, like I said, lightning storm, tornado, and suddenly it leads to more damage than usually. Or unfortunately, there's increased probability of like an airplane accident, and this may have to do with or anything that's like flying, I suppose, or moves really fast, and that could be due to worn out metal parts, like some wear and tear, basically like a part of an engine, and things just kind of don't hold together, or something is overheating and breaks under pressure or under excessive speed. And it could be also related to aerospace, so maybe there's like a launch of some rocket and it's unsuccessful again due to some metal fatigue or something like that. At the same time, for the stock market, there may be increased volatility, and it could be along the lines of, again, some asset going up and down in value really crazily, and in particular it could be also affecting like cryptocurrencies and currencies in general, or banks and financials. And some issue that may sort of follow this, which could be related to obviously like the airlines, or for example this crazy volatility in the stock market, is that it may what might follow this will be a regulation to prevent such either accidents or such crazy volatility from occurring again. So there may be some increased governmental regulation following this situation. After that, another important time period will be end of July 27th through 30th, and at that time there may also be increased stock market move, especially 28th and 29th of July. At that time, the direction may be up, and in fact it might be very like exciting, optimistic, optimistic time where investors are extra excited and they're kind of trying to ride the wave, and things may sort of go overboard again based on some sort of like expectation, excitement. At the same time, there may be also increased news about things like immigration, some sort of laws or legal changes, and also increased news about international relations, long distance transportation, and communication. So there may be some temporary disruption of like long distance travel or shipments, but overall there will be some resolution again that comes that the issue is quickly addressed, and that those difficulties for other travelers or transportation is resolved at that time. However, there may be also increased probability of extreme weather at that time affecting again long distance transportation, and it could be along the lines of like excessive winds, dry hot spell, or even some volcanic eruption that pollutes air with ashes. Let's see, for the US and globally, after that, generally month of August and December look significant in terms of the increased news of either financial policies out of the US, and also the value of gold and or silver, and particularly around August 9, there may be a not temporary, but intermediate top, perhaps, or reversal date for gold and or silver value. And then around December 15th, I think, will be an overall top for those metals for this year. So I think overall long term, I guess through the 15th of December, gold and silver will continue to climb, and there may be some reversal in their value around mid-December due to some news about from the US about either changes in financial policies, rates, and or value of US dollar. Also for the US, from about the end of August through the end of February of next year, there's this period of some either increased confusion, uncertainty, or some changes where again things are unclear related to things like military weapons, especially Navy, and partnerships with international partners, and there's increased probability of some either miscommunication or unintentional error that may lead to some escalations or some maritime accidents. So it could be just again foggy weather, things are not seen very clearly, or there's like a spill of oil or fuel, or some situation that involves like chemicals or some unseen threats that are like hacking and spying. Again, that's obviously all of those are Neptunian domains, and particularly these situations may intensify the week of August 30th of this year, and these events may be similar to what may have occurred earlier this year, late March through early April. So something, again, if there was like, again, I mentioned that before, situation maybe like some ship or some boat is in the wrong place in the wrong time and is seen as a threat, maybe when it's not, or vice versa. Something is emitted because, again, there's too much fog and just things are unclear, or just there's miscommunication for whatever reason, and things look kind of worse as more of a threat than they really are. But that's just something to keep in mind, I guess. And let's see, and for oil industry, oil gas industry, another prominent period later this year will be coming in late August, early September, especially September 1st through 3rd. At that time, there may be increased focus on value of oil, some concerns about oil and gas prices, as well as other Neptunian domains, of course, like movies, for example, or beverages, music, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and things like that. Those domains may experience some stressful conditions where perhaps their value goes down, earnings from those areas may go down, and there may also be major stock market drop, especially on September 3rd. Then moving into next year, and I guess next few years, the important things to highlight would be the next spring, 2022. I believe there will be massive floods, and especially the time that to look out for would be around April 4th, plus minus a few days. And additionally, there may be news about like major oil spills, chemical attacks, major weather events involving excessive precipitation, floods, large earthquake, which again would be accompanied by tsunami or floods, or some large-scale industrial incidents such as, some gas leaks or some chemical is released. Plus minus even a few weeks, again, March, April of next year in particular, expect some really major floods or oil leaks, or even increased news about some like flu or some infectious disease spreading, and perhaps something that's spreads through contaminated water, like maybe cholera or dysentery, and or there may be some effect of bad weather on oil production or oil gas transportation. Maybe like an oil tanker suffers an accident in bad weather and spills large quantities of oil. So all of those will be quite likely next spring, especially around early April. So definitely, if you have you're living somewhere where the area is prone to floods, definitely make sure you have insurance, taken care of, and all of that. After that, next year, another time where we may see increased either bad weather event or accidents would be August 1st of 2022, plus minus a few days. And there too, there may be some, again, bad weather or an accident, like something that's moving really fast and then comes to an abrupt stop. And at the same time, there may be some surprising sudden events involving banks, cryptocurrencies, or finance in general, and especially focus again on something that's digital, like financial transactions are done online, online payments, etc. And there may be some sudden cancellation of some project, or some asset suddenly loses a lot of its value, or perhaps skyrockets. So again, really major fluctuations, and that's around August 1st of next year. And a new prediction that I just posted on my blog at delsunga.com, that was in response to one of the comments on the previous video, is I looked at the transits for China for next year, and indeed next spring, summer, especially July and August of 2022, I do see that there is increased probability of significant flooding there, as well as some major accidents and associated financial losses. And again, those could be due to some turbulations again in financial, with financial institutions, or it could be due to flooding. For the US, the years of 2022 and 2023 may be somewhat difficult and turbulent, and that has to do with two sort of coinciding major transits occurring, and that will affect US natal chart. One is that Neptune, which again brings floods, confusion, and sort of deception, and just again, like I said, things are not very clear as far as what direction things are going. And that planet will be entering the fourth house that has to do with, motherland, real estate, farmland. So perhaps if there is, real estate underwater, or it could be, literally flooding that pollutes farmlands, and then there's concern about the value of food, because obviously it's hard to grow food on like flooded farmland. And so at the same time, some fluctuations in real estate prices, some confusion and concerns about kind of unclarity as to how valuable a particular real estate, a particular place is, because again, just so many changes, things are just uncertain. Not necessarily that they're bad, it's just that there's lack of clarity, so things may not be, it may not be easy for folks to kind of make decisions as far as like what to buy, where to buy, and concerns about the value of the land or farmlands and groceries, or even the contamination of land and food, I guess, and produce. And again, this is an ongoing, sort of slowly developing transit, so things will not happen overnight, but just again, this ongoing background influence in 22, 23. And another big important transit that will be happening for the US right at the same time is a Pluto return, which means that the Pluto that was is coming back to the position that it occupied at the time where US, I guess, was funded as a country, and as its first return, because Pluto obviously takes forever to orbit around the sun. And basically that would coincide with major sort of rebirth of the country in terms of like its structures, how things are governed, and because Pluto is also has to do with, again, just kind of destroying things on its path, because things need to be built from ground up, and it has to do with things that are like literally underground, and secrets and scandals, or things that really just need to a lot of power needs to be applied. So things that may be related to, say, power plants or power energy industry, or even nuclear power plants, things that, in those areas may be reconsidered, meaning like what is their value, what is their use, and things, maybe old plants could be shut down and new ones, rebuilt, or the source of energy, kind of direction indeed, where things may be going, could be completely, renewed at this time. But that goes also for any sort of large corporations and governmental structures where old leaders who were maybe in power for a long time, or the way things were governed previously, may really be strongly reconsidered. Obviously, things that are positive and useful can be kept, but things that are outdated can be completely, restructured, again, just with a completely new, I guess, perspective. And another area that I guess Pluto rules would be things like police, anything to do with, again, power structures, and again, whatever that means. So indeed, police reform, etc. So that's 22, 23 for the US in a nutshell. After that, I guess another important period that I would want to highlight, and I've written more about that on my blog at plasunka.com. That's for 25, I guess, through early 26. We will have a Neptune conjunct Saturn transit, and also both of those planets will at the same time in 2025 will switch from from Pisces, that's ruled by Neptune, where Neptune is comfortable, to Aries, which, ruled by Mars, which is, of course, like the god of war, at least in Greek mythology. And so we will have really major changes associated with those two planets, both being, again, conjunct, and also with them switching signs. So, for example, previously Neptune was in Aries during the American Civil War, and there was a lot of advancement in medicine. Of course, Neptune rules things that are, but so for example, like anesthesia was, I guess, improved, or how to treat like major trauma through surgery. So there's a lot of advancement, and Aries does make things advance really fast. So that's obviously a positive thing, where you can have maybe medicines or treatments can be developed a lot faster. At the same time, obviously, the reason that they're developed faster is because you have a lot of like wounded folks, or folks that are maybe suffering from some disabilities or infections, etc. And so you need to address the situation really quickly. But that obviously then you have this advancement in science. And those two planets being in conjunction will likely coincide with major reversals in the value of associated products that are Neptunian products. So things like oil, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, movies and things of that nature. And I think oil at that time may see like a multi-year top, and there may be a major reversal at that time. And this could potentially be due to some really major, again, restructuring and some even major like oil spills, like Exxon Valdez spill, for example, did also occur under the same transit, Saturn conjunct Neptune. And so there may be some major concerns about oil contamination or water contamination, lack of or shortage of clean water, be due to droughts and fires. Again, Aries is the fire sign, so there may be just literally things that are just so hot and you don't have enough water because it's just too hot. Or it could be obviously due to just maybe some war or in some areas, so people don't have access to clean water because of that. Or it could be due to maybe some contamination through either whatever agents or something like that, or through chemicals spilled, or just through major oil spill, etc. And so basically because of that, the value of related products may be quite affected. It could be generally we're going from the sign where Neptune is comfortable in, so something like we have a lot of water, we have a lot of, fish or something like that, we have a lot of ships or oil and whatever it is abundant, we have it and it comes easy. But again, in 2025, things may just kind of turn where maybe suddenly, there's so much of, whatever, one of these kind of products or commodities. And because of that, suddenly there's shortage and prices skyrocket, and then there is a need to impose some ceiling, limitations on the prices, something along those lines. Let's see, and some specific dates for 2025, in addition to this general, like this Saturn conjunct Neptune entering into Aries, this major transit. There will also be several specific dates in 2025 that kind of look similar to situations that I looked for major either disasters or earthquakes or some weather events. So in particular, February 1st of 2025 may see major accidents, floods, spills, gas leaks, etc. Then April from about 11th through the 21st of 2025 may also see major accidents, earthquakes, industrial disasters, or shakeups in the level of governments or corporations. And those events may lead to further fighting or protests at the end of April of 2025. Globally and for the US, June 14th of 2025 looks also significant, plus minus a few days. Again, probability of major accidents like lightning storms, airplane accidents, power plants experiencing some difficulties. And that too may involve either a large number of people or be known to many people, maybe, but because it's televised on TV or something like that, or shown on TV, or it may lead to some important changes for the relevant industries. So maybe how oil and gas is transported, or how water supply is handled, or how water is cleaned, or agriculture and pharmaceutical industries. That's June of next year. And also August 8th through 14th of next year, 2025. And then August 8th through 14th of 2025, plus minus again a few days, may see yet again a major accident. Maybe there's like a plane or train or something that's transporting goods and things shipped out of balance, and like on a ship, and obviously there's excessive speed also, either due to high winds or for some other reason, and things again may lead to an accident. There may also be an accident like at a power plant where perhaps, again, due to maybe an earthquake, for example, or where there's just too much heat that's generated and there's unfortunately not enough available cooling. So something gets out of control, be it due to like an earthquake or just some accident or just improper, functioning, and things heating up, but there's not enough cooling. So maybe there's a fire, and either there's shortage of water or too far away from the source of water. Again, at that time, again, that whole year we'll be unfortunately experiencing potentially water shortages, be it due to hot weather or just contamination or some other reason. And it could also be something like a major hurricane, massive oil spill, or a large fire. And unfortunately, that either may lead to water contamination, therefore there's not enough water available, and or it may be the reason for the accident, like a fire, may be because there's not no available proper water to put the fire out. And then generally speaking, for the US, April and May of 2025, and then January and February of 2026 may see larger than usual moves in gold and silver prices, and some additional, or rather coinciding with some notable major changes related to US monetary policy and or some value changes in its currency. So definitely another big year to, I guess, be aware of. And now just on a quick review of the background influences for this entire week, we have obviously ongoing Saturn square Uranus, which is somewhat of a difficult transit and typically coincides with this ideological clashes between kind of a maybe ideology or ideas that are typically associated with Uranus, which would be more along the lines of like making things happen fast, kind of revolutionize things to make some rapid improvements and make things freely available, kind of equality for everyone, but treating kind of focusing more on how groups function and kind of make things more open, more available, and again focus on maybe disregarding some risk, but in order to make fast progress. And the ideas that are more associated with Saturn, meaning things that proceed slowly, they kind of build over time, and on the one hand, yes, it's good to be cautious, and things kind of then develop perhaps things that are developed under Saturnian influences are more likely to kind of withstand the test of time, but at the same time things may be so slow that things never get implemented, and so you have this push and pull between the energy that let's make things better faster, but maybe disregard some things, but then the other energy is saying, oh, okay, well, let's not rush so much because, why change things, and things were great as they used to be. But unfortunately, because of square between of these two planets, things may be proceeding in these kind of push and pull, stop and, go kind of a matter, as opposed to this gradual progress. Things may be either, each of them pulling sort of blanket on itself. And so there may be things progressing very fast, but then something breaks, like an accident, and then Saturn, that's from Uranus, and then Saturn has to come in and pull things back, or there's too much volatility in the stock market, or there's an accident because we're, flying too many rockets into space or whatever, and so then we need to kind of bring things down, and suddenly the restrictions are too harsh, kind of overdoing it on each side. And as I mentioned before, at the end of June through early July, we will have Mars joining this square to form a T square, and that's actually a very strong negative transit. And unfortunately, at this time, this ideological sort of a battle may turn more like violent, or may manifest as an actual accident and breakdown of something. And that would be a time that I would not advise for folks to travel. There's some other times where this square becomes more precise, and that you can find on my blog at plastunka.com. I'm not gonna list all of those times just right now. And then another global influence that we have kind of ongoing, it has to do with communication, transportation, and travel, negotiations of various sorts. Right now we're experiencing a period of Mercury retrograde, which is also at this moment is kind of a squaring Neptune. So this may lead to all kinds of confusion, kind of things not interpreted correctly, things having to be revisited more than once perhaps because some details are not clear. There are omissions in the contracts, etc. And contracts that are reached this time may need to be revisited later to correct things because of that. Again, if you're somebody's using some navigation device, they may not read, the results clearly. So basically all kinds of confusion, and the time is from about May 30th through June 22nd, where especially June 2nd through 14th is where that confusion may be kind of the strongest. Then things, and also any sort of transportation or travel, may again experience these kind of setbacks or delays, and again mostly due to confusion or perhaps weather that involves excessive precipitation. Starting June 23rd and 24th, things should look up, and if there was a delay in transporting something, or some negotiations weren't clear, or confusion, there was confusion about whether the sale is going to go through or not, 23rd and 24th of June is when things should kind of restart or move again faster. And at the same time, 23rd, 24th of June, I would expect financial policies, kind of news about financial policies, maybe like rates, taxes, investments, real estate to come through as well. So perhaps those things will be related as to why things will start moving forward faster at that time, or there will be at least some more clarity as which direction things are going. And another influence, that's global influence, is started from about May 13th of this year and will be in effect through July 27th, and that will restart December 29th and will be in effect through May 10th of next year. And that's has to do with Jupiter entering Pisces, and that will bring expansion and sort of improve opportunities, as well as improved value, prices, or earnings from areas related to sort of Pisces and I guess Jupiter as well. So this will be like traveling or shipping things over water. So some, cargo shipments that are over water, oil prices, but also the value of things related to like beverages, movies, chemicals, pharmaceuticals. So those industries may see some improved opportunities, cruises also. So more people may start going on cruises, going to movies. Obviously, pharmaceutical companies may make more money, perhaps through these vaccinations or some other ways. Like I said, oil and gas prices may increase, but also profits from those industries should also be increased. And let's see, and that will be through more or less May of next year. For the US, the period of April of this year through about March of 2022, and especially April, September of this year, and then February and March of next year, may see increased focus on the oil and gas industry, where it will be, as well as I guess also chemicals, pharmaceuticals, movie theaters, etc., where there may be increased either probability of some difficulties, where perhaps maybe there's really bad weather and it affects oil, either transportation or production, or there's some increased probability of spills, contamination, or some problems with beverages, water, etc. And these significant developments are something that may be once in like many decades. So some changes may be occurring that will be fairly permanent or will last again for decades, and some things may not be quite, if there's a new project, things may not be quite going as planned, or there may be some hacking or spying. And indeed, there may be more news about projects that involve some engineering, maybe like laying things under the water or transporting things, via pipe, of course, the pipeline news. Or by, like I said, underwater, via water, or of liquids. And unfortunately, these areas may experience some, again, increased confusion at this time, or problems with problems with accounting, where things just don't add up. Either it's because just things were mismanaged and just details were missed, or there's an accident, or just, again, some sort of a service is not functioning properly. And maybe like a major company that's like chemical, oil, or pharmaceutical reports an accounting error, or maybe there's some unclear healthcare policy that makes, again, things kind of more difficult for those industries to manufacture something, because again, things kind of shift as far as what the actual policies are. So On the one hand, there may be major changes, like I said, some underwater, like cables or something may be laid. But again, those things may, so there are some major changes that may be happening, or like the pipeline may be open or closed. But at the same time, this is not an easy kind of a period where things are just kind of proceeding smoothly. Things may be happening through discovery of some errors or problems. And as those problems are addressed, major changes are implemented that will be with us for some decades to come. And the main themes would be like dissatisfaction with how those areas are functioning, and also concerns about excessively like wet weather, floods, pollution, etc. Let's see. And lastly, I guess for oil, as I just mentioned, the next big period, I guess, to look for in terms of the oil prices, like a really major, period for this year is late August, early September. There may be some problems or concerns about oil prices, and on a longer time scale, the major oil reversal or oil prices reversal will be in 2025, which will be an important year, I guess, globally, just in general. And that's it for me for this time. Hope you enjoyed this this video, and come back and check me out next week. Until then, have a great week, everyone.